Hi everybody, and welcome back to Lost Genre Bridezilla, where we'll take a look at some of the craziest bride stories out there. So let's go ahead and get started with the first post. This one is from user Frenchie's Women. A former friend of mine asked me to be her maid of honor. I was really excited for her, but when I found out I was pregnant, I offered to let her replace me. She assured me it would be fine. That meant she still expected me to do everything. It was shocking how she changed over the course of the months leading up to the wedding. She had been a very sweet and generous person, almost to a fault, but she took every opportunity she could to cash in on her wedding. She asked friends and friends of friends to get services for her for free, but was really demanding about it and super critical. She expected the bridesmaids to be with her 24/7, 2 days before the wedding. I had to let her sleep over at my house because she was revirginizing and couldn't stay at her apartment because she had been living with the groom for over a year. We found out a week before the wedding that she had booked all of us to go with her to a salon to have our hair and makeup done with her. It would cost us $200 each. All of us thought we'd just do fine with our own hair and makeup, but she wanted it to be a fun girls' day. The other bridesmaids had to get sitters as their husbands were golfing with the groom. Then, it turns out that the actual cost of hair and makeup was only $75. The difference was to pay for her hair and makeup plus the extra time for the limo to take us to the salon and then to the church. The reception was a mess because she refused to see the groom before the wedding, but then wanted a ton of pictures together after the ceremony. All the guests were waiting at the reception, but she insisted no one could be served anything until the bride and groom arrived. 90 minutes later. When we tried to hurry her along, she said, "All those people can wait, it's my day." The appropriate way to refer to those people is your guests. All I'll say about the fact that I had to manage the money dance is, B, your last name ain't Corleone. Then, around midnight, my husband and I had to shuttle all the presents from the reception to our house because we had been guilted, early on, into hosting a brunch the next day where she could open her presents and visit with family and the wedding party. I had originally planned on just doing fruit and bagels plus drinks, alcoholic and none. But she whined that it really couldn't be called a brunch if I didn't serve eggs. But don't just go buy a quiche. So after getting back and unloading the gifts and making sure the place was clean, I had to prep an egg casserole for the morning. Did I mention I'm 7 months pregnant at this point? The best part was that when we agreed to host, I asked her for a list of names so I could send out invitations. She told me she had already done it. I hadn't agreed to it, but she already invited people to my house. I asked how many people because, details like that help with the planning. She couldn't remember, and whenever she did tell me a number, it changed. Also, after I left the reception, there was just a general announcement that everyone was invited. And that announcement was that it started at 10 a.m. when it was really planned for 11. Boy, was I surprised when random people started showing up an hour early. The bride and groom didn't show up until noon, an hour late, and they were upset because most of the food was gone. But the final straw was when, months later, after I had my son, they came over not to see me and the baby, but to pitch my husband and I on a pyramid scheme. When we declined, she flew into a rage and said it was going to be my fault that they lost their house. We had helped them move 2 weeks prior. She's actually the one who ended our friendship. Nicest thing she ever did for me that year. Yikes, now that is what I would call a Bridezilla/horrible friend. Horrible friend. She really took advantage of that friendship and then making her guests wait? That part did remind me of one of the worst weddings I had ever been to. The crappy part was that no food was served until the bride and groom finished taking pictures with every single table at the wedding. And it was a big wedding. Anyways, regarding this story, this is definitely a Bridezilla. Alright, now let's move on to the next post, but before that, let's take a look at a picture that you'd say, yeah, the bride has all the right to become a Bridezilla and just have a meltdown at her wedding. So the caption reads, my mother-in-law wore a wedding dress to my wedding. So yeah, top that one, Twitter. And take a look at this. There's the mother-in-law in a wedding dress, just looking at the bride. And the bride's got this like stare like, how dare you do this? And check that out in the background. I think that's the groom maybe talking to his dad with his hand out like saying, Dad, couldn't you have done something? What the hell, man? Why would you let her wear that to my wedding? Oh my god, if there's anybody in the world who has the right to turn into a Bridezilla, I would say it's this bride right here. Where's the maid of honor with a glass full of red wine to throw on the mother-in-law when you need it, huh? Note again how the bride has the fist ready to punch her in the face. This is fantastic. Alright, now we're moving on to the next post. Have you ever wondered if there is something like a reverse Bridezilla? This one's from user Sarah Loves Minnie. I work in the wedding industry, running a wedding flower company. I've been self-employed for 5 years and average 30 to 50 weddings per year. I always get asked if I deal with Bridezillas. The answer? Yes. But you know who's worse? Bridechillas. It's a term I made up quite early into my career. This is what it's like to work with a Bridechilla. At the consultation, they are so cool. They don't care. It's just a wedding, no big deal. Totally just happy to go with the flow. Hey, they hired the pros for a reason, right? They repeatedly joke that I must love working with someone so not a Bridezilla for once. Oh my god, I must be the most relaxed bride you've ever met. Bridechillas get the quote and they love it. But can we change all the mention of pink to lilac? Why didn't they mention lilac and only pink in their consultation? Meh, they just aren't fuzzed. But now it has to be lilac. That's all good, right? So you do another quote. Oh, just spoke to mom. Can we add 20 buttonholes and make the bridesmaid's bouquet smaller? No more changes, I promise. It's mom, dad, groom, sister, etc. causing them so much grief, never their own indecision or inability to stick to a plan. So you do another quote. Thanks so much for quote 3. Love it. Lock us in. Deposits get sent, usually paid late. 6 months to a year passes. Now we're a few months out from the wedding. At this time, Bridechilla realizes she has heaps of updates. So bridesmaids' dresses aren't blush anymore, they're navy blue. Can we change the color scheme? She made this change in dresses probably 3 months ago, but was just so chill about it. Didn't think it was a big deal to update me, so you do a new quote. Thanks for quote 4. Why is there a change in price? Oh, and can we change XYZ? So you try to explain that this needs to stop happening. They exclaim they're totally chill. If changes can't be made, then no big deal at all. So you write up quote 5. Bridechillas often just never reply either. So it's time for full payment. Invoices sent? Oh crap. She forgot to mention that 2 months ago she asked another friend to be a bridesmaid as well. So can we make that 6 bridesmaids bouquets? So excited for the big day though. Payment comes in late. If I'm lucky, there will be no changes come wedding week, but wedding day is always a disaster. She's usually unprepared and assumed I was throwing in heaps more extras than agreed. For example, Friday just Bean's bride. 2 days before the wedding. Oh hey, can you play some candles for me too? I explained it wasn't usually okay, but it would be if it was just a few. I was assured it was totally chill, just a few candles. It was 130 individually bubble-wrapped tea light candle votives. 3 different varieties, all needing to be placed in a pattern, each with 1 centimeter of water at the bottom of the votive. It took me an additional 1.5 hours at the venue. In conclusion, Bridechillas think they're better than Bridezillas. Their goal is to be a chilled out dream to work with. In reality, I'd rather have a Bridezilla any day. At least they know what the heck they want. Plus, if a Bridezilla acts awful, it's easy and understandable to snap back and tell them their behavior is out of order. But how the F do you tell a client to stop being so relaxed? I have to say, I never expected that. I mean, I've never been a bride either. I do have to say, Bridezilla sounds sucky to work with. So on one side you've got Bridezillas and on the other one you've got Bridechillas. And apparently they're the complete opposite. This makes me guess that the ones that you really want to work with are just normal brides in the middle. What do you guys think? To those of you who have been brides, do you think you were a Bridezilla or a Bridechilla? Or just a bride? Alright, let's move on to the next post, which is a text conversation. To give you some context, this is a text conversation between two cousins that are somewhat estranged. Hey, sorry it's last minute, but as you know, my wedding is on the 20th of this month. Karen backed out. You think you can fill in? Hi, Bridezilla. As tempting as that sounds, I think it's best for me to sit this one out. Hope things work out for you though. I hope you have a great wedding. If it's about money, Karen said she would sell you the dress cheap. You might have to alter it once, you get it? But you'd really be doing me a huge favor. So would you like to? I bet it's a gorgeous dress, but I really don't want to be a bridesmaid. Those situations make me super uncomfortable. You're the only one who can fit in her dress. Everyone else is either too small or too short. I desperately need you to step up here. I haven't decided if I should be offended by that or not. Either way, I just don't feel comfortable. Sorry. Wow, this is my wedding day. I can't believe you're making this about you. I could care less if you're offended or not. You're being so selfish and self-centered. I just don't want to do something that makes me uncomfortable. It's not a you thing, it's a me thing. Sorry for being self-centered, I just really am not interested. I'm sure you can find another person in our family you're closer with than me. Bottom line is, I'm not doing it. It doesn't matter if it makes you uncomfortable. You're just supposed to do things for family. I'm not going to argue about this. E-transfer the money to me, I'll pick up the dress from Karen. You're being a real bee about this. If you don't do this, then I don't want you at my wedding, period. Well, in that case, no. You're too fat to be a bridesmaid anyways. I can't believe I wasted my time asking you. Karen definitely had the right idea backing out. Have a great wedding. Let's hope no one else backs out before then. F off, fatty. Well, what you gonna do? If your cousin doesn't wanna do it, she's not gonna do it. And insulting her is definitely not gonna get her to say, "Oh, I'm in, just send me the dress." I guess it's gonna be an uneven wedding party, right? Alright, and on that note, let's move on to the final post. And this one's from user Bookbringer. My friend Kelly's getting married. She asked myself and 3 other friends to be her bridesmaids. Her sister as maid of honor. One of her friends, Ellis, is in a same-sex relationship. Kelly seems to have no issues with this since she asked Ellis to be her bridesmaid and invited Ellis's partner as a guest to the wedding. Well, last night Kelly texted Ellis and told her she's no longer a bridesmaid. She and her partner aren't welcomed at the wedding. Ellis was confused and pressed for a reason. Turns out, Kelly's future in-laws are furious effing gate floozies are attending their wedding. It's a sacred place and dirty floozies have no business being there. Ellis calls me early the following morning while my boyfriend and I were sleeping. She was really upset and crying. I tried to comfort her the best I could and agree on meeting up for dinner later. So I called Kelly and asked what the F is going on. She tells me it's no big deal. She's only missing a plate of food and she will make it up to her. She also has the nerve to tell me to ask Ellis to lend her the bridesmaid's dress because she found someone to replace her, so it wouldn't look uneven at the wedding. It's such a hassle and last minute. If everyone would just be normal, then this wouldn't happen. I pretty much lost it right there. I told her she is the essiest piece of S I have ever met. She's just all into looks and I told her I am not going to the wedding either and hung up on her. My boyfriend heard all this go down and texted the groom that he's not going to be the best man either. My boyfriend also told his friends about what happened and they are also not going to the wedding. The maid of honor calls me and says I am such a B that I ruined the wedding for Kelly and I'm just starting stuff up. So later this turned into a huge ass show. The groom, Eric, came to the restaurant where we had dinner and apologized to Ellis. He also wanted to make a few things clear. He had no idea Kelly would go behind his back and tell Ellis and Anita, her partner, they aren't welcome to the wedding, and most importantly, his parents didn't say any of those things. His father made an offhand comment which translates to, "What's a good girl like Ellis doing with another woman?" His mother said, "Children these days think different. You antique cow shouldn't talk so much." Kelly took it upon herself to interpret that her future in-laws meant they hated homosexuals. Future in-laws weren't furious and never said Ellis and Anita aren't welcome to the wedding. Kelly and a few of us speak that dialect fluently. There's no way she didn't understand exactly what Eric's parents said. The wedding is called off as Eric wants to step back and think if Kelly is the right match for him. Anita tells us Kelly has been very passive-aggressive towards her and Ellis for the past few weeks. Anita said she thought it was the stress of the wedding, so Kelly was acting up. I think it's also because Anita and Ellis are getting married at the end of the year. We live in a country where gay marriage is non-existent. In fact, if you are LGBTQ, you are a person that doesn't exist. Ellis and Anita have talked about going to Canada or Taiwan to get their marriage license and holding a mini banquet back in our country. Someone suggested we all go to Taiwan for a mini vacation and they can have a small wedding there. We have all been talking non-stop about this for the past month. To be honest, we were talking about the vacation rather than the wedding since it's the first time most of us have traveled there. Kelly is probably jealous that Ellis upstaged her. Either way, Ellis and I feel incredibly guilty for how it all went down. We've known Kelly for over a decade and we don't want to see her go down in flames. It's a pity that a friendship had to end this way over a single day. Wow, that story took us for a ride. It ended up being a Bridezilla a-hole who actually burnt her own wedding for an incredibly petty reason, using her in-laws' comments, to which I honestly don't believe were like harmful or offensive, but you know, I could be wrong, and blew them out of proportion to uninvite her bridesmaid, and then it just blew up in her face, losing all her friends, losing her wedding, and probably losing her fiance as well. Let's hope this Bridezilla learned a lesson, right? I understand that a wedding is the most important thing in a bride's mind. However, that doesn't mean it's the most important thing in everybody else's mind. In your whole circle of friends, they can also be talking about other things. Unfortunately, this Bridezilla didn't like that and ended up losing everything. And once again, my friends, we've reached the end of the video. I really hope you liked it, and if you did, like always, go ahead and click like, don't forget. And if you haven't subscribed, just go ahead and click subscribe. If you like this content, why not subscribe, right? And also, go ahead and join the Lost Genre subreddit and share your story and I'll be able to read it in one of the videos. I'll leave a link in the description. And having said all that, I'll see you guys on the next video.